Are your rental units sitting empty longer than they should? Have you ever calculated what those vacant apartments are costing you on an annual basis? Well, welcome to Strategy Saturday. I'm Charles Carillo, and today we're talking about how to reduce vacancy rates, whether you're managing a value-add deal, a small duplex, or maybe a large rental property. Here are some of the tactics that my team and I utilize to minimize our vacancy rates, so let's get started. Reducing vacancy is one of the best ways to maximize the NOI of your property, no matter what type of rental property investing strategy you are applying. A value-add renovation deal, a turnkey property, or maybe you purchase a property that was mismanaged and you're now getting it back on track. Reducing vacancy will be a significant part of the stabilization process. Now, as a side note, there are two types of vacancy. There's physical and there's economic vacancy. Now, you can check out episode SS238 to learn more about both of them in depth. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about reducing physical vacancy, which is what most people refer to when they simply say vacancy. So reducing vacancy is a two-pronged approach involving minimizing downtime between tenants and increasing the renewal rate of current tenants. And to learn more about understanding vacancy and make-ready costs, check out episode SS151. That's SS151. Making minor improvements in each of these will increase your bottom line and dramatically increase your property's value over several years. So here are some of the strategies that I've utilized to reduce vacancies in my properties. And we'll start off with renting to new tenants. So number one is property condition. So ensure the property is in good condition and the unit is ready for rent. Do not list or show the unit until it is 100% complete. In my experience, when I've showed or partially finished unit to prospective tenants, they've never rented them for one reason or another. And now I have a rule that we do not show any units that are not 100% ready for rent. Now, if you want to learn more about some renovations with high return on investment, check out episode SS230. That's SS230. But keep open lines of communication with your handyman to make sure that once the unit becomes vacant, they can start the make-ready process as soon as possible. And let them know not to show the unit, because there'll be people that come by, if they're on the street, they see work being done, they want to live in that neighborhood, and they'll pester your handyman or you to let them in and to see what's going on in there and what it looks like, and just tell them no one's allowed in there, and then to have them call the manager, or if you're the owner managing it, have them call you to set up a showing. Number two is effective advertising and marketing, and I really wanted to name this point consistent advertising and marketing and not effective. But when dealing with a smaller property, you hopefully won't have many vacancies. Hence, taking inquiries for occupied units wastes everyone's time. So you must turn marketing on and off as you go. And this differs from when we have, say, a syndicated 100+ unit property and we are consistently marketing, since there are always vacancies. There are always people moving in, there's always people moving out, and hence we need to make sure that we keep that flow of inquiries coming in so we can make sure those units are rented right as they're done being made ready. Now, effective marketing starts with an in-depth market research and competitive pricing. So inaccurate rental pricing usually decreases inquiries and prolongs vacancies, but can also harm renewals. It is not usual for tenants, especially tenants new to an area or tenants in a bind, to overpay when they move in. However, after a year, when they realize what else is the market has to offer, they probably won't renew. Number three is create quality listings and a marketing plan. And listings with low quality or minimal pictures are a major turnoff when someone's searching for sale properties or for rent property listings. And I typically see the mistake made by mom and pop investors. They show a few poor quality pictures of a unit with a previous tenant's belongings all over the place, and they wonder why they cannot rent the unit. Or you see a for sale by owner listing for a house which is $500,000, and the seller, they're trying to save some money and they take the pictures themselves instead of hiring a professional photographer for a couple $100, and it really shows. And once you complete that renovation of the unit, it's made ready, or you finish all the make ready, take dozens of high quality pictures. Additionally, write a detailed description with all of your tenant screening requirements. Look at newly constructed apartment complex websites and look at all the information and all the pictures that they are offering to prospective tenants. They're not putting up someone's pictures that came off someone's phone. Not saying you need to have a website for a 6-unit property, but they list everything in those listings when they're renting them, including how close the schools are, the grocery stores, restaurants are to the property. Look at something like a really good for sale, like an agent listing, and you'll see all the information that they add in there so people know this is exactly what I want and there's no questions. And it cuts down on people that are reaching out to them that might not qualify, but it also, for those people that you really want to rent to or sell a property to, those are the ones that you want to make sure that they reach out to you and you set up a showing. And either way, they're very detailed. And the last part of this is having a marketing plan. Now, this is much simpler than it sounds. You already have high quality pictures and detailed unit descriptions because you've already written those. Now, make a list of where you will post vacant units when they are ready to rent. And you can now put this all in the cloud and let your VA tenant handle all this. And your virtual assistant can take care of all this when you let them know, hey, we have a vacancy here. And so when you have that vacancy, they have the pictures of that unit and they have the description and they know where and how to post it. And that takes away all of that from you. And it gets your phone ringing a lot faster. So when that property is ready, you can rent it immediately. Number 4 is respond quickly to inquiries and have a streamlined application process. Now, when an inquiry comes in online or via phone, make sure someone is there to speak with them 7 days a week or reply quickly to their online inquiry. Now, I always set up group showings, splitting people up into 15-minute increments. And this is if you're not at the property. If you're at the property, you can show the property pretty much whenever. But if you're not at the property, you don't have on-site management. This is something where I send them up in groups because, most people or many people won't show. And lastly, I would not share the application link until you have pre-vetted the person. I don't want people applying and wasting money on applications if they don't meet your tenant requirements. It's a waste for everyone. You don't want anybody writing any bad reviews or doing anything negative because they already paid that application fee. When I've turned down tenants, which is very rare that have gone through the application process, in some situations, I one time had 2 tenants that were applying at the same time, and I was new as a landlord, and I ended up just refunding someone back what they paid. It wasn't much money, but it was one of those things where I don't want any bad blood. I don't want any issues. You know what I mean? I knew it was my mistake. I shouldn't have taken 2 applications from people like that. And you'll have some people that put out all these applications. Once you find someone, you put them through the application, they're going to know within hours if the person's approved or not. You maybe takes a little longer if you're verifying all the income a little bit more manually. But the thing though is that you have a good idea from the beginning who's going to make the cut and who's not. And you can just tell people if they really want to do it, if they're pushed to do it, fine. Give them the link and they can apply. But what I say is that you're talking to a couple of people that really have a high chance of getting approved. You provide them with that link and have them go through the process. And I also hesitate to rent to people who have not seen the unit in person. And this is a big thing, and I never really thought of it this much. It was something my dad brought to my attention. I think I've only done this once or twice in my life when I self-manage my properties. But once you have a viable tenant, share an online link where they can apply and make sure that it performs a background check and also make sure that you're verifying employment and income. And I have to stress this, since COVID, landlords have been plagued with tenant fraud, and that's usually with identity theft, which you can kind of get around because you go through all these checks and all the information and verifying all these different information through the application process online that can be done. But the second thing is the employment and income. This is where it gets a little bit difficult, right? Because now you have to figure out a way verifying the documentation is correct that they're putting through. And this is one of the things where when I speak to property managers today, they usually have some sort of AI screening software, something where they document software where they can upload the documents into, and it tells them immediately if anything's been altered or if something looks wrong. You know what I mean? And that's something that's really helpful. But the second thing is now you want to really verify that the person works at that job and for that amount of time. And that can be a little trickier. So these are things that you have to do in this new age of what's happening with tenants and landlords. The next part here is going to be retaining current tenants. All those different episodes I mentioned earlier in the first half of this episode, those are ones that you want to go back to because those are going to help you retain those tenants. And here's some other points that we utilize for making sure that we can keep tenants in our units as long as possible. And the first part of this is responsive maintenance. So when there is an issue, you quickly respond to the tenant and promptly address any repairs, especially when there are emergencies. And this is where this 7 days a week comes in. When you're dealing with residential tenants, when you're renting to them, it's 7 days. It's just like if you were going to buy a residential house, it's going to be odd if your agent's not working on the weekends or after 5 p.m. But when you're servicing a tenant that's already in there, especially with emergencies, that's something that you have to take care of them right away. And whatever they inquire, I would say 7 days a week, someone responds to them. Even if they say something that is not a big problem, right? Something minor, my blinds aren't working or something like this. Okay, great. And we have someone else out that property in the next couple business days, we will take care of those. Much different than if you're saying that, hey, my toilet's leaking or it's on the floor, whatever it is. I would always say that you always respond to tenants when they reach out to you for anything right away. And then that's initially where you're going to set up their expectations of when that's going to be taken care of. Number 2 is the property upkeep. This is kind of more like when you're getting to upkeep of the property, but all the common areas as well and outside, exterior. So properties require consistent maintenance and upkeep and continually verify the property's exterior and interior are well maintained. Number 3 is open communication. So welcome feedback from tenants and provide updates on maintenance issues if there is a delay in fixing the issues. And this is very important when you have like mechanicals that have failed, like hot water or furnaces. If you're giving them like an every 2-hour update of what's happening, you know what I mean? Like so hot water goes out 8 a.m. on Tuesday or something like this. And you know that you're not going to be able to get someone out there. You're working to find someone there and you're trying to get someone out there by like Wednesday or whatever it is or later that day. Give them consistent updates throughout the day. Don't have them reaching out to you. This lets them know that you're on top of it. And it's one less thing they have to worry about because obviously there's people in their household that they have to answer to as well. And they're kind of sometimes the person you're dealing with in the household might just be, you know, the person that you've spoken to that you rented the apartment to mainly. So it's one of those things where it makes it easier for their life too when speaking to their kids or their spouse or whoever it might be that's going to be asking them, hey, when's the hot water going to get fixed? So giving them consistent updates, what's going to happen, what your time frame is there a problem with the parts, whatever it might be, letting them know that's going to keep that tenant happy. And they're going to know that in the future, they're going to say, this is the type of service I want. And most tenants, when you do something like that, they've never had that happen before. So they really appreciate it. And I've had several tenants that reached out to me and told me they really thanked you for doing that because with previous landlords, it never happened. So always be open to communication at all points of your relationship with that tenant. Number 4, and this is something that property managers really fail on. I've seen before when I've been a tenant on other people's properties, it's early lease renewal discussions. Don't wait until the final days of the tenant's lease renewal period to start the renewal conversation. So I remember when my wife and we started living together, we had our first apartment that we were living in at that point, we went for like a renewal and they would like drop off the renewal letters. Literally, it was a 60-day thing in the lease, 60-day window that you had to tell them before moving. And they would drop it off like 61 days out. So now it's the most, you're scrambling because, whatever that letter says with the rent increases or whatever it is, if, you were in a tighter bond or a tighter bind or tighter financial situation, that would make it much harder for you and obviously much more stressful. It's something you want to avoid. If on any part of that relationship, right? If I am the landlord and the property manager, I want to make sure that I've got that person locked in literally 3 months before their lease is up, right? To make sure everything runs smooth or see exactly what it is. Maybe they're trying to buy a house and they say, we can't sign for 12 months, but can we sign for 6 months? And you say, fine, we'll sign for 6 months. Then it goes month to month after that. Just letting you know, rent's going to go up 5% because it's now a 6-month lease, whatever the number is. And most people are going to agree to that because it just makes their life much easier. And in that scenario, that's something for you that you're going to know, okay, this cuts down because even if they're not spending, you want to get as many months out of the tenant as possible in your property because that's going to cut down on the make ready. Now, if you can say, even if they just spend 18 months versus 12 at your property because they would have gone somewhere else maybe and done month to month, now you have 18 months where you're spreading over all that make ready costs that you've put in and everything else that you've invested into that apartment, getting prepped for that tenant. It's now been spread over many more months, which decreases daily cost of preparing that apartment. So that's really why our goal is really 24 months. If we can hit 24 months, we've done well with that tenant. But these are just things that start having that conversation before your tenants even think about the renewal. Because when they start renewing, then they're going to get on their phone, they're going to get on their computer, they're going to start looking at other places, they might tour some places. You want to get before all that happens. So the person has to rent for the most part, right? Very few people, they're going to just like buy a place right at the end of their first lease with you. You know what I mean? So the thing is, on that renewal, make sure that you're speaking to them, talk to them pricing up front. Don't be afraid to offer any type of renewal incentives or agree to replace like that stove that has been a consistent issue. And this is a win-win for both the tenant owner. Another thing I don't understand why people don't do. If you like have someone has a fridge that's literally on the fritz and you've sent out a couple people there to fix it and you're kind of like patching it and it's got to be repaired. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, it's an $800 fridge, whatever it is that you're getting for this person, go out, tell them, you know what I mean? You're going to put in this $1,000 fridge and then, if they resign and you'll put it in like immediately. You're 90 days out. You'll put it in the next, week or 2 weeks, whatever it is, if they resign now. And once they resign, get that ordered and get that all set, ready to go. Don't wait until the renewal date comes up. Do it immediately. And that's a win-win because now you don't have to waste someone going out there. You have to pay them hourly. You have to deal with the disgruntled tenant, which is like, all these little things that people are renting because they don't want to deal with any of it. So make it better for them. And then they know that's the one thing that we had an issue with this property. That was taken care of. Now we don't have to do it. Reducing vacancies at your property is really the key to increasing your net income and its value. And many of these tactics take a little time to implement up front, but they will help you shave days and weeks off vacancies for years to come. So I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Submit comments on potential show topics at globalinvestorspodcast.com. If you're interested in actively investing in real estate, please check out our courses and mentoring programs at syndicationsuperstars.com. That is syndicationsuperstars.com. Look forward to 2 more episodes next week. See you then. If you always want to invest in real estate, but didn't have the time, didn't know where to find the deals, couldn't get the funding, and didn't want tenants calling you? Since 2006, I've been buying income-producing properties in great locations that provide us with consistent passive income while we wait for appreciation in the future and take advantage of tax laws while we're waiting. And unlike your financial advisor, we invest alongside our investors in every property we purchase. Check out investwithharborside.com. If you like the idea of investing in real estate, if you like the idea of passive income, partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com.
This episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.